Okay, the simplicity part of the machine, this is a spray jet for the machine. It's the orifice in this spray jet is almost 3/16 of an inch diameter. So as far as clogging up spray jets, it's just not going to happen. Okay, sticking with the simplicity of the machine weighs 31 pounds. I mean, it's very, very lightweight. The other thing is you only need one 15 amp circuit to plug this thing into. Another thing as far as simplicity, you can fit this thing into a VW Beetle's front seat. I mean, I don't think as far as transportation there's ever been an easier commercial extractor available. Another thing, easy use is, or simplicity, at the end you always have some water left in the tank. All you have to do to manually make it discharge, tilt it to the right. Okay, continuing on with the simplicity of the machine. It's probably the easiest access machine to the parts that I know of, and probably the easiest machine to work on. We've got the engine compartment cover scooted back, and here is the vacuum motor right here, your discharge pump right here, and this machine has a solenoid which is right under here. On the control panel where your buttons are, once you remove the cover, all the electrical is on a terminal block, so all you have to do is unscrew a few things, and there's nothing on this machine, once you're used to it, it should take you more than 10 minutes to work on. Also, at the end of the day, there's filters in this model. This is Steamin Demon Classic. You have the water filter, there's a garden hose swivel, you just unswivel it, and it comes out. As you can tell, this house has a dog, and we got a fair amount of dog hair, but all you have to do is clean off your filters. The outside filters, your lint filter, it catches most of the hair. Then underneath it is the primary filter. The air filter is in the back of the machine on the bulkhead. It just needs to be wiped off. You don't have to. I don't think we're getting a lot of light here, but it gives you the general idea. And then the other thing that needs to be cleaned is a float switch, which there's a little thumb knob on there, and you just unscrew it, and it's tethered, so you don't have to disconnect it to get it out. You should always unplug the machine, but then you can get underneath it and clean any hair and lint that has gotten inside of the housing to make sure that paddle inside there floats freely up and down with the water level. Okay, now we're getting into the functionality part of this machine. The Steamin Demon is a high flow extractor. It puts out, the spray jet we showed you earlier puts out 3 to 4 gallons of water per minute. The reason this machine can do this is it has a very efficient vacuum system. If you look where the vacuum motor is, it's where the vacuum enters the recovery tank, it's about 10 to 11 inches high. This machine only has to lift the water that high. So the vacuum motor, its only responsibility is to get that water into the recovery tank. And so it doesn't have to lift the water very high to do that. And once the water is in the recovery tank, that's when the float switch, the blue switch down here, it activates when the water level is about 3 inches in the recovery tank. The float switch activates this discharge pump. So the efficiency of the vacuum system in this machine, I mean, the vacuum motor is only responsible to get that water into the recovery tank. The discharge pump is what gets the water away from the machine and into the toilet. Okay, last part as far as functionality, as I mentioned, the Steamin Demon is a high flow extractor, and Tom's going to give us an example of that. Go ahead, Tom. As you can see, the Demon puts down a tremendous amount of water, but as explained earlier, the recovery is there. The vacuum system, because of the limited amount of lift and the small amount of area in the vacuum system in the recovery tank, the recovery is in the mid to high 90s. So, okay, now the Steamin Demon, compared to a truck mount, it puts down about twice the water flow. In general, it uses lower heat and lower pressure. But what I'd like to show you here as far as the functionality of the machine is, because of the water flow rate, there's a fair amount of impact. So Tom, go ahead. Okay. That's good. What I'd like you to do is maybe take your wand, do the same thing, and see if you hear the same thing that you're hearing here. Go ahead one more time. The machine does create a lot of impact and a lot of flushing action. Like I mentioned earlier, Steamin Demon fits easily in the front seat of cars, minivans, whatever. And also, one other thing I wanted to point out, when you're using the Steamin Demon, if you look at the door you came in from, they're closed. You don't have to leave doors open. Okay, well, I hope I answered some of the questions out there about the Steamin Demon. We did 4 separate things. We measured the temperature to start. Like I mentioned, it was about 110, between 110 and 120. When we were finished, it was sitting about 118. The setup time took us about 2 minutes and 20 seconds, and that's just one person. We went over the simplicity of the machine, the size of the spray jet, the weight of the machine. It's very light, easy access to parts, easy to work on, easy to transport. You only need one 15-amp circuit. The machine is price competitive. The machine also is very visual, which not only helps the end user, but it also is, the end users find it very impressive to watch. The functionality of the machine, the close proximity of the vacuum motor, it doesn't have to lift the water very high. The smallness of the recovery tank, it's only about a third of a cubic foot. And also, most importantly, is the water flow rate. I did want to mention the water flow rate on this machine. It is a patented concept. Our patents, anything greater than 1.5 gallons of water per minute, could potentially be an infringement upon our patents. And so if you hear of any manufacturers claiming high water flow or high flow extraction, it's my neighbor. Let me know, but hopefully I've answered your questions, and I thank you for